Hudson County View, live and uncut, and I'm your host, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the women's pet and the men's regret, where what you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet, John R. Heinis. And of course, talking the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. So first of all, let's talk about Governor Phil Murphy coming to Hudson County twice last week in a span of just about 36 hours. So first on Thursday night, he came to the View over in Jersey City, that's the Lincoln Park area, and he reiterated his support for Craig Guy, who's of course the Chief of Staff to Hudson County Executive Tom DeGees, and he's running to succeed him with the support of the Hudson County Democratic Organization and many other prominent Democrats throughout the state. So we'll tell you what happened there. And then the governor came back and actually went to 55th and Broadway in West New York, and that was to endorse Albio Series, a former congressman and state assembly speaker, for mayor, a post that he held between about 1995 and 2006. So we want to chat a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about some happenings in the Mile Square City. We saw Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala veto a rent amendment measure, and this is likely going to lead to a referendum, according to the Mile Square Taxpayers Association. We're also going to talk about the first quarter ELEC reports out of Hoboken, which were mostly uneventful, but a couple things that you insiders will be interested in. So all that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
Stevens Jersey City Ford Certified Parts and Service, located at Route 440 and Communipaw Ave, is your #1 source for Ford and Lincoln automotive needs. We use certified Ford Motorcraft products to keep your Ford running in top shape. Motorcraft parts are backed with the Ford warranty, which includes a 2-year unlimited mileage guarantee. Our team will have the right Motorcraft part to ensure the best performance from your Ford or Lincoln. You can order in person at the parts counter or online. Let us help keep your Ford or Lincoln in the best shape at Stevens Jersey City Ford.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John R. Heinis. So first, let's talk about those 2 appearances from the governor. So at the View, and this was actually its informal grand opening, he reiterated his support. I mean, you probably remember that Murphy endorsed Craig Guy at his campaign kickoff in September, and also there was U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, who co-headlined the event with Murphy, and Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, and we also saw Essex County Commissioner Brendan Gill, and there were many others, and many of them also made an appearance at this event, again, reiterating their support. At this point, Guy is heavily favored. He has the endorsement also of U.S. Senator Cory Booker, basically the Jersey City Police Union, Hudson County Building Trades, and he's raised over $500,000 to date. So he said, I'm so grateful to everyone who came out to support my campaign tonight, and especially to my dear friends Governor Murphy and Senator Menendez, and all the elected officials and Democratic leaders for taking time out of their schedules to be here. It was wonderful to get the chance to meet and speak with so many supporters and spend the evening at this beautiful new event space in Jersey City that our county administration made possible. As county executive, I will continue to bring exciting new economic opportunities like this to Hudson County. So with that, I mean, there's really not a heck of a whole lot else to say. Actually, one thing that I think I should note is that New Jersey Democratic State Chair Leroy Jones Jr. was there, and he said in part that we have a candidate that we are all proud of, a person that believes in Hudson County, a person that bleeds Hudson County, a person that has embraced Hudson County through the spirit of good governance. We are now running together to make sure Craig is elected in the primary election and move on to the general election. So with that, we'd be here well beyond a half hour if we talked about all the personalities that were there, but we also saw State Senator and Union City Mayor Brian Stack take the stage. We saw Middlesex County Democratic Chair Kevin McCabe, Bergen County Democratic Chair Paul Giuliano, Passaic County Democratic Chair John Curry, Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop, of course, the Hudson County Democratic Organization Chair, Anthony Vanieri. Like I said, we would be here a really long time if we named every single one of them, but there were a lot of electeds and a lot of candidates in sight, and it looks like the county is fully united behind Guy, at least as far as the local political apparatus is concerned. So, with that, let's continue talking a little bit about Phil Murphy, and this time we're talking North Hudson, as again, he went to West New York. Now, despite the fact that Saturday wasn't exactly fantastic weather. Obviously, it was pouring all day, but they had a tent, and they kept the program relatively short, a little over a half hour. And for this event, you saw Murphy and Jones headline. They were the big endorsements, and Stack also took stage on this one as well. So in short, the big thing that caught people's attention was that there's two differing plans that we've talked about on this program. One that is backed by Ceres and the superintendent of schools, Claire Arbrito Herrera, and pretty much the whole Ceres camp, is that on 64th and Broadway, they want to bring a new school. That's vacant land that's owned by the state. And now we've heard from Public Affairs Commissioner Cosmo Cirillo, who's of course heading the West New York Forward ticket and is looking to be elected mayor on May 9th, just 1 week away, of course, in those nonpartisan races. Now, we saw Murphy take Ceres' side fully here, which is not unexpected. But I don't know if it was exactly planned either, because this is an interesting thing where you actually see someone come out from the state and make an endorsement and get into the nitty gritty. So what I mean by that is when Murphy was giving his remarks, he said quite a few interesting things. He said he'll take this community to new heights. Experience matters. This is no time in this world in the way it is with this economy, with inflation, with our recovery from the pandemic. This is not the time to give this community to an untested leader. You need the steely veteran presence that Albio Series and this whole lineup bring. The $65 million that is set aside for the SDA, but that's the New Jersey School Development Authority, is set aside for one single purpose, and that is to build a school on Broadway. It's my money, and that's how it's going to be spent. So Cirillo's plan for a rec center at that location obviously is not supported by Murphy. And beyond that, they just reiterated support for the whole ticket. That's Commissioner Victor Barrera, former BOE trustees Adam Parkinson and Marielka Diaz. Parkinson, of course, who was the president for many years. And we also see the slate rounded out with the recent congressional candidate on the Republican side, Marcos Arroyo. And Ceres addressed the fact that he had a Republican on the ticket. He said it's a nonpartisan election. I want to make sure everyone has a voice in my government, so that's why he's here. It's an interesting dynamic there because Ceres, of course, did 8 terms in the House of Representatives, and he was succeeded by Rob Menendez, the son of U.S. Senator Bob Menendez. And the guy who ran against Rob Menendez last year in November was Marcos Arroyo. And of course, Menendez was endorsed by Ceres at that time. So that's kind of an interesting change of pace there. Other than that, we've seen a lot of mail hitting since the weekend for both sides. Obviously, we're in the home stretch, the championship rounds, if you will. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. We're going to let you know what we see. But for this moment, this has been incredibly calm and tame by West New York standards. I mean, many of you guys and girls will remember that chaos, that pandemonium, really, that was 2011 when Felix Roque and his team unseated Sal Vega and his board of commissioners. That was one of the nastiest fights in North Hudson memory. Then in 2015, while it didn't hold a candle to that, we still had a lot of entertainment between Commissioner Count Wiley and Mayor Roque. And then in 2019, with a New Beginnings team led by Gabriel Rodriguez, which also included Cosmo Cirillo and Margarito Guzman, which have obviously gone their separate ways, running against Roque and his team. So, yeah, this one's very calm, very quiet, very respectful for the most part. But, if there's any surprises down the line, we're going to let you know in these last 7 days. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2727 2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. Chad Heinis. So let's head over to Jersey City. So something that got quite a bit of attention last week was these potential pool fees that would be implemented in 2024. Now, originally they were going to go for this summer season, but they ended up making an amendment, and at Wednesday's meeting, we saw that measure get unanimously approved. That's 9-0 from the Jersey City Council. Now, just to give you guys a quick recap, if you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about, the ordinance proposes $3 fees for adult residents, that's 18 to 61 years old, $2 for children, $1 for seniors. Adults and children would pay $1 extra on weekends and holidays, while senior fees would be made the same. And to that end, non-resident adults and children would double, with the holiday and weekend fees raising to $8 and $6 respectively, while senior fees would remain stable at $2. So why are we even talking about this, right? Well, there's Green Acres funding that the city received for their 2 outdoor pools. And the way that that works now is if I charge a resident $0, I am not allowed to charge non-residents. Now, if I charge, let's just say $1 for residents, that means the max I could charge is double. So in that case, it would be $2. So that's the predicament we're in. And if you guys recall what I talked about last week from the caucus meeting, the recreation director, that's Lucinda McLaughlin, she noted that it's about $1.4 million to run the pools in terms of staffing, in terms of maintenance, upkeep, stuff like that. It's about $1.4 million, so they need to generate some revenue this year, something that they haven't really been able to accomplish in recent years due to COVID, of course. And now with that, you know, we heard from Woody Councilman James Solomon and also Councilman at Large Daniel Rivera. They were adamant that kids should be allowed in the pool for free, but they would vote yes in first reading like the remainder of their 7 colleagues did. Now, we heard a couple days later from Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day, who of course represents the west side, and a little tiny section of downtown now after redistricting, and he is 110% against this measure. And he gave a very emphatic statement, in my opinion, on Facebook, and he said, "I am writing to you to express my strong opposition to the pool fees that was introduced at Wednesday night's City Council meeting. For as long as I can remember, Jersey City has not charged for use of its public pools. Our public pools each act as an oasis during hot summer days, which with climate change we are seeing more of. Those of us who do not have the luxury of belonging to a private pool club or health club have only the option of public pools, especially for our inner city youth. These pools are a lifeline." So, I mean, doesn't get too much more definitive than that, folks. But, you know, he continued that in a post-COVID world, youth should be encouraged to play outdoors, especially during the warmer summer months. And he puts it quite clearly here where he says, "This is one of the worst ideas I have ever heard of and comes at the worst time as so many are struggling to just pay their bills." And he concluded by saying, "The revenue generated will not nearly offset the negative impact it will have on our children, seniors, and residents who have little or no other options. Do not amend it, do not tweak it, just do the right thing and defeat it." Now, we heard from Mayor Stephen Fulop on Twitter. We saw NJTV, NJ Spotlight News, David Cruz going back and forth with the mayor on this, and the mayor said that they were indifferent, the administration that is, on whether or not the council decides to implement these fees. So we're going to see what happens at the May 10th meeting, but all indications at this current time show to me that this thing's going to get voted down pretty definitively, and quite frankly, I would be surprised to see any of the city council members vote for it on second reading. And, you know, this kind of brings me to a point that I wasn't even planning on talking about, but something that's kind of interesting here, I think it goes beyond Hudson County, but in New Jersey, where a lot of city councils, a lot of board of commissioners, they'll put up an ordinance, and a lot of the electeds will say, "Well, I don't support this, but I'm going to vote yes on first reading as an introduction." I don't really understand this practice, and I think this is a practice that, you know, governing bodies throughout the state should start getting away from, because if you get the second reading, yes, that opens it up to public comment, and yes, that leads to a discussion for the council or the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Education, whoever it may be, and that's great, and more dialogue is better. But the problem here is if it gets to second reading, you're already at the final stage of approval, and it comes down to those 5 or 7 or 9 votes, depending on the community, the municipality that we're talking about. And when you're just going to basically upvote anything on first reading, that gives it to the point where it's going to come down to basically just this final frontier. And if you know it's something that you don't want, and that example we could get right from Wednesday's Jersey City Council meeting, they voted no unanimously on the fire pit ban. So if you know you don't want it, if you know the community doesn't want it, why not just get it out of the way and, you know, basically axe it on first reading rather than just doing this thing, well, it's as a courtesy, you know, just because it's an introduction, it's not a big deal, but it is kind of a big deal because when it gets to second reading, that's already final approval. So that's just something that I wanted to put out there, and we'll get to see what happens when this comes up for second reading again on May 10th, but I would put a pretty penny that this is not going to go very far. So with that, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back.
Not everyone celebrates the birth of a baby. You have options. Don't panic. New Jersey has safe havens for unwanted infants. Leave the baby with staff at any hospital, ER, police or fire station, or rescue squad. Call the number on your screen for safe haven locations or go to www.njsafehaven.org. No shame, no blame, no names. Safe Haven.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or a quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live and uncut. Chad Heinis. So let's take a quick trip back to North Hudson here. Now, we got these 2 elections, again, just a week away in West New York and North Bergen. Not a lot going on in terms of the public domain, you know, not a ton of media or anything from any of these 4 camps. But interestingly, we got a little bit of what some are calling a proxy war between Guttenberg Mayor Wade Zitt and Weehawken Mayor Richard Turner, and that's over the North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue Department. So, in short, Wade Zitt and Richard Turner have had some problems over the years over the way that the tax rate is calculated. Now, with the Guttenberg mayor has said before that he didn't think that his town, his municipality was getting a fair shake, and he'd sat down with Mayor Turner to try to work this out amicably. That hasn't happened. And now he's finally gone public, and obviously is quite angry with the situation. In part, he says, there have been manpower shortages at dangerous fires that are placing our firefighters in potential peril. And it stems mainly from the township of Weehawken purposely shortchanging the department through tax abatement deals it has made with developers. Now, just in case, a quick refresher, North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue was actually founded at the beginning of 1999, and that has our 5 North Hudson municipalities. So you got Guttenberg, you have Weehawken, West New York, Union City, and North Bergen. Now, this was to consolidate power, or, you know, relatively speaking, for these fire departments for 5 relatively small municipalities. So Turner is widely credited as the mastermind, the brainchild, if you will, who made this come to fruition, and he has been the board chair of North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue since its inception. Now, according to Zitt, Weehawken is exploiting an outdated budget formula for the department used to calculate annual payments made by each of the 5 member communities, and he's claiming explicitly that $618 million in tax-exempt properties from Weehawken is not included in the North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue budget. He continues, This is a deceitful method of taking advantage of other communities sharing the service, such as Guttenberg and Union City, where the use of such pilot programs is virtually non-existent. So, not surprising to anyone that knows the Weehawken mayor, he was happy to respond in kind. And he said that this was nothing more than a distraction in the May 9th municipal elections in West New York. So if you're not familiar with the connections, Cosmo Cirillo is the business administrator in Guttenberg, and Turner is the right-hand man of Albio Series and has been for probably close to 3 decades, if not more now. So he said, Mayor Zitt's statements about North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue are incredibly misinformed and raise serious questions about whether his employees, Cosmo Cirillo and Hiram Gonzalez, who's also one of the commissioner candidates on Cirillo's slate, really have the best interests of West New York taxpayers at heart. The fact is that Mayor Zitt has been threatening to pull Guttenberg out of North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue for months and return to a volunteer fire department. That would not only endanger the lives of Guttenberg residents, but it would also cost West New York taxpayers over $500,000 per year. This would be a disaster for West New York. But with Cosmo Cirillo working for Mayor Zitt as his business administrator, you have to wonder whether he would stand with his employer or with the people of West New York. So shots fired for sure. Probably the most fiery thing, I guess pun intended, we've seen in West New York or North Bergen this entire season. Now, you guys may recall that this isn't the first time that I've reported on this. Going back all the way to the beginning of the pandemic, about June 2020, Zitt, that is, has been pressing Turner about this funding formula for a while. And I mean, back then you saw the Guttenberg Town Council approve a resolution creating an exploratory committee to look at the feasibility of creating a volunteer fire department when their contract with North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue expires, which is next year. So if there's going to be any movement on this thing, it's going to have to come relatively quickly. So other than that, you know, this is obviously something to watch. I mean, I haven't seen any of the paperwork or the documentation about how this tax rate is calculated per municipality. Obviously, I'm eager to, and once I have it, I'm certainly going to relay that back to you guys in hopefully the clearest and most concise way possible. Finally, on a closing note here, there was a letter from North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue Chief David Donnarumma that says the department is responding to alarms with the highest level of personnel in the last 13 years, meaning that response times are just as good as they've ever been. Now, let's talk about rent control in Hoboken, going back to the Mile Square City. So there was something last week where Mayor Bala on Friday, actually, he did a veto of these rent amendments that were approved by the council. So this is a bit of a complex issue, but if you guys recall, on April 19th, the City Council passed a Measure 5-4, and this was looked at as a compromise between tenants and landlords, and it was basically going to make everyone happy in theory, but this is Hoboken, so happiness is tough to come by when it comes to the political spectrum. So his veto statement said, as I communicated to the City Council, I appreciate what I believe to be the Council's good faith attempt to clarify confusion on the rent control ordinance and previous amendments that were passed. However, I believe that the April 19th amendments passed 5-4 by the City Council will have the effect of gradually eliminating rent control in Hoboken within the next 10 years or sooner. The proposed amendments, which I believe to be flawed, allow landlords and property owners to beg rent increases in rent-controlled units that for whatever reason they decided not to impose on a current tenant, and then legally levy a large begged increase on the next tenant. We heard from Second Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher, who voted in favor of this proposal, and she said that that banking procedure has actually been standard operating procedure for the past 3 decades or so, including Bala's entire tenure in office, which includes council at large. And she said that, you know, that's just not factually correct. But we're going to dive deeper into this when we hear another word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
This thing rips! Oh, it is so quick. There's a lot of punch packed into this Bronco Sport. It's got a ton of horsepower. I love it. All right, now we're getting hairy. Now we're getting the fun stuff. Yeah. I like how we can get over or around almost anything.
Yeah, I dig your ride. I super dig it. It's gonna be a good day.
Growing up can be tough on kids. So much is going on in the world that can cause depression or anxiety. Unusual behavior for more than 6 months could mean they need help. Don't wait. For real-time mental health support and counseling, call New Jersey's Children's System of Care. CSOC offers free mental health supports, substance use treatment, and services for intellectual or developmental disabilities for all kids up to age 21. Call now 1-877-652-7624.
Hudson County View live on Uncut. Chad Heinis. So let's again continue this conversation on Hoboken rent control and this veto from Mayor Ravi Bala. Now, the amendments that the governing body approved on April 19th included rent permitted to be charged under the rent control ordinance, leaving rent control calculations up to the rent control office, which with tenants able to receive the calculations upon request, among other things. Now, it was sponsored by 4th Ward Councilman Ruben Ramos and 6th Ward Councilwoman Jen Giattino and 1st Ward Councilman Mike DeFusco, 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, and 2nd Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher joined them in voting yes for approval, but the veto obviously undoes that. And Fisher came back and she said for 3 decades the practice by Hoboken's Rent Control Office, including 12 years under Mayor Bala's watch, has allowed landlords to charge future tenants accrued or banked annual CPI rent increases that had not previously been charged to existing tenants. When this provision was eliminated by 5 city council votes in February, a move that was almost universally opposed by tenants and landlords alike, the future of Hoboken's rent control laws were threatened. So don't forget, this is actually the second iteration of rent control this year being changed by the Hoboken City Council. That first one completely eliminated that banking move that the mayor talked about, and the amendment effectively brought it back, but by the time they brought it back, I don't really think there was enough time to cancel it. So it does get a bit complicated here, but that's where we're at. Now, I got an email that I obtained, that's Mile Square Taxpayers Association Executive Director Ron Simoncini, and he helped come up with these amendments with tenant advocate Cheryl Fallick. And he said in an email to his membership that property owners are being asked to live with a 5% increase in their revenue while the city seeks to impose a 6.1% tax increase and cut services. Does that mean property owners should cut services? That's not how we want to treat our residents. As a result, the previous housing policy, which was barely livable, has been undermined to the point of provocation. Our only option to continue to be able to serve our customers and save the value of our investment is to take the issue directly to the public. We will launch a referendum for vacancy decontrol next week. So that would obviously mean a referendum, and I would imagine that would probably be during the same time as the ward council races, where wards 1 through 6 will have an election, and that's going to be on November 7th in a nonpartisan race. So keep your eyes peeled. Obviously, this is going to get interesting very fast. Finally, I said I wanted to talk a little bit about campaign finance. Not a heck of a lot to tell you in Q1 over in Hoboken, but a couple things that I did want to point out. Number one, Vijay Chaudhuri, who is Ravi Bala's chief of staff, he makes $135,000 at City Hall, and he made $13,000 during this quarter, which is January 1st through March 30th of this year. He made $13,000. Now, the mayor's allies on the council all gave him varying amounts, but yeah, the council president, that's Emily Jabor, she gave $2,000, as did Councilman at Large Joe Quintero and Councilman at Large Jim Doyle, while 5th Ward Councilman Phil Cohen gave $1,000, and then Bala himself put forward $6,000. So of course that comes out to $13,000, and he serves as the treasurer for all of those electeds as well. So some of that was for compliance measures, and others was a campaign expense back to 2021 when those at-large candidates ran with Bala. Of course, you recall Bala ran unopposed. The other thing, very quickly, before I let you jump for the week, is that the 5th Ward looks like it's going to get pretty interesting. And the reason I say that is Cohen has $36,829.28 cash on hand. That's a nice chunk of change. And then his challenger, Liz Urteco, she has just under $17,000. That's $16,928.94 raised in that first quarter. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching Hudson Media Group. Follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.